We're talking about delegation, especially as it pertains to becoming a better leader and why it's important to delegate when you get into roles of leadership. So, a hallmark of a good leader is someone who can delegate because they are confident in themselves as a leader. They know that their role is to see the big picture, understand the underlying problems that need to be solved, can be creative enough to come up with solutions, understand how those solutions are going to play out with the rest of their team, and who they can get to solve these problems and execute on those things. It requires you to have the time to be creative and to do the things and put the plans into place and rally the people to do these things. So, when you're looking to be in a leadership position and to really be a leader, those things are things that you're going to have to focus on, which means that all of the stuff that you did before, if you were managing everything, if you were the one who was doing the execution, if you were doing all of the tasks that were needed, you're going to have to move some of those responsibilities and those tasks to other people on your team so that you can have the bandwidth to be that leader. And that's an important thing to take into account because if you are the leader you want to be, but you have your thumb on all of the other pieces and you're not letting up and letting other people take over that, you're going to fail because you can't do all of that. You have to rely on your team. You have to trust them to get things done. So, the first thing that I would say if you're in this role and you want to become that optimal leader is that you're going to need to work on enhancing the team's capacity for this type of work. You're going to need to elevate their skills. So, if you do see people who you see promise in them, but you know that they can get there, you need to foster that, educate them, work with them, mentor them so that they can take over the things that are on your plate so that you can free yourself up for the deep work. You also need to be able to foster a lot of trust and motivation in your team. This is also another hallmark of leadership where you can motivate them to get things done. They see you have been transparent enough with them that they see the big picture that you see and they see themselves in the role of helping success become a thing, and they see that your plan and how it can come to fruition and how they play a role in that. So you should be focused on working on your with your team to build that trust, to motivate them, to get them to a place where you feel comfortable handing things over. And sometimes you have to do this before your comfort level is reached, because if you give people the ability to succeed in a role and you give them everything that they need to succeed, that alone will build trust. Sometimes people need to do the thing before they are an expert in it because you can't get there without enough experience and enough doing to really master the work that you're handing off. You need to be efficient with your time and how you're managing it and where your focus is. So as you're building your team up, you need to just disperse the work amongst the people that you know are going to be optimal for that particular project or task or whatever it is that you're delegating. They need to have some basis that you understand they can handle this, and then let them fly, because again, you need that time for yourself so that you can manage the overall team. You can do the work, the deep work that needs to be done to make everyone successful. And you need to evaluate their work. As you've delegated things to them, you need to be able to have time to review it, to improve on it, to give them positive feedback, to give them, critique on where they need to improve. Those types of things are important in your role as a leader. So if you're not delegating the things that are on your plate out, you're not going to have time to provide feedback. You also want to develop future leaders. So as you delegate out your work, you will see that there are people on your team who will emerge who have the ability to rally others around them, to influence other teams, to help them do the work that they need to do, or influence other individuals. Those people will be your future leaders. And when you're in a leadership role, you want a number two. You want someone who can take over when you are sick, when you're out, who can be the person that steps up. And you need to foster that on your team. So many times managers lack the ability to identify that on their team and then foster that within. It could be one person, it could be many people, but if you're not fostering leadership on your own team, you're doing them a disservice and yourself a disservice, because you want to raise the next group of leaders to take over. You will likely continue to rise in your role, and you want to have others who come up behind you that can carry on the same type of leadership style that you have, or grow their own, or be leaders to others. So that's an important thing. A leader is not going to be someone who has a huge ego. They see in others what someone saw in them and helps them become better at their role. You also need to have the capacity to take on challenges and to overcome them. And that means that if you're not delegating to your team already, you can't employ them to help you with whatever challenge is popping up. And so some of the things that I think it's really important to do as a leader is to always bring your team together, have them be able to talk amongst themselves, to find out if there's overlap, how you streamline that, have them be able to come to solutions on their own. You will always probably have an answer or a solution, but let them figure it out. Let them have that communication. Be transparent across your team. It's not useful to have silos. It's not useful to create your own silo when you should be working or engaging or collaborating with another team. So make sure that you're having regular check-ins, not just one-on-one with your team members, but across within your team, so everybody's working together, and then across teams. That will help the team become more of leaders within their own right. And so that's a few of the tips that I have in delegation. So don't be afraid to delegate. Sometimes you make mistakes and you have to help clean up the mess as the leader that you have delegated out. But those are learning experiences. Take that as it will. People will need to learn. A lot of learning comes from failure. So you yourself as a leader may fail. You will take on the failures of your team. But if you don't empower them, you don't raise that next level of leadership, then you're not doing a good job as a leader. So those are my tips. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to answer them or discuss. If you have dissenting opinions, that's a good opportunity too. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye.